BF Day proudly presents Mr. M's Math Games and Math Breakthroughs.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Mr. M's Math Games and Math Breakthroughs. We have a pie themed episode. It is March and it is the 14th episode, 3.14. Ooh, scary. We're going to do a lot of fun things today. We're going to learn what is pi actually. What does it represent? So you're going to watch a video around that. We're going to watch a video of the history of pi. And then, just for fun, we're going to actually watch a video of the world's largest pizza. And that there is a connection to pi with that. And then at the end of the video, I'm actually going to talk about the pi memorization contest, which is actually going to happen on Friday, March 12th. It can't be on the 14th because it's on a Sunday, and that's on Sunday, which is unfortunate. But we're going to have it on Friday, March 12th, and I'll talk about the pi memorization contest at the end. So let's start off by watching a video on what pi represents.
Hi, welcome to Math Antics. We've learned a lot about geometry so far, but there's one really important geometric shape that we still need to cover, and that shape is a circle. Since the invention of the wheel, circles have been extremely important to all humanity.
Grog make wheel.
Thanks, Grog. In fact, you probably see circles almost everywhere you turn. But mathematically, what is a circle? Well, in geometry, a circle is defined as the set of all points that are equidistant, or the same distance, from another single point. And the best way to understand what that means is to see it in action. So, here's a single point to start with. And now, let's start drawing points that are equidistant from it. This point is a foot away to the right. Now let's make another point a foot away, but in another direction. Let's say up here. Now let's make another one, also a foot away, but in another direction, right here. Now let's make another, right here.
And another.
Phew, I'm getting tired. But do you see what's happening? The more equidistant points we add, the more the pattern looks like a circle. And that's why a circle is defined as the set of points that are equidistant from a center point. But of course, we usually don't see it as a set of points because there's infinitely many of them, so they form a continuous circle. Okay, now let's learn about the parts that make up a circle. First of all, we have the original point that we started with. That's called the center or the origin of the circle. Next, we have the distance that we use to draw all of the equidistant points that form a circle. That distance is called the radius. The radius is important because it's the distance from the center of a circle to any other point on the perimeter of that circle. And even though a circle only has one radius dimension, you can draw as many radius lines as you want to. Usually you'll only see one radius line drawn since it's the same length no matter where you draw it. Another important circle dimension is called the diameter. The diameter is the distance across a circle. If you start at one point on the circle and then draw a line straight through the center to the other side, that distance is the diameter. As you can see, the diameter is really just the same as two radius lines drawn in exactly opposite directions. So for any circle, the diameter is always exactly twice as long as the radius. All of the equidistant points we drew combine to form the perimeter of the circle. Remember that perimeter is just the distance all the way around a shape. But because a circle is a special shape, the perimeter of a circle gets a special name. It's called the circumference. The circumference is the distance all the way around a circle. We're going to learn how to calculate the circumference of any circle in the next video. We'll also learn how to calculate the area of any circle. But before we can learn those things, we first need to learn about pi.
Grog make pie.
Sorry, Grog, not that kind of pi. In math, the word pi, which is spelled Pi, refers to a very special number. In fact, it's so special that it gets its own symbol. This Greek letter here is the symbol for the number pi. But if pi is just a number, why don't we write it like that? Why do we need to use a special symbol for it? That's a good question, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, let's learn what pi really is by seeing how it relates to a circle. It turns out that pi is really a ratio. Now, if you're not sure what a ratio is, you can watch our video about them. But basically, a ratio is just a relationship between two numbers that's written like a fraction. Pi is the ratio of two different distances on a circle. It's the ratio of the distance around a circle to the distance across a circle. And what do we call those two distances? Yep, the circumference and the diameter. So pi is the relationship of the circumference to the diameter. And as you'll see in a minute, because pi is a ratio, it's the same number for any circle, no matter how big or small. Okay, but what number is it? What's the value of pi? Well, to figure that out, have a look at these two circles, one big and one small. We're going to imagine that our circle's diameters are flexible like a piece of string, and that we can wrap them around the outside edges, circumferences, of the circles. So for each circle, if we start at the top and wrap the diameter around the circumference, we see that one diameter is not enough to go all the way around. So let's get another diameter and keep going where the first diameter stopped. Two diameters still isn't enough to go all the way around. It looks like we're going to need to get a third diameter and keep going. Oh, so close! 3 diameters is almost enough, but it looks like we're going to need just a little bit more to form a full circumference. That little bit more turns out to be about 0.14 diameters. That means that it takes 3.14 diameters to equal 1 circumference for any circle, big or small. So the value of pi is always 3.14. Well, okay, pi is a little more complicated than that. 3.14 is really just pi rounded off to 2 decimal places. And we actually have to round pi off because it's a type of number that's called irrational. An irrational number has decimal digits that never end and never repeat.
Grog confused.
Yes, irrational numbers are confusing. But seeing some more of pi's decimal digits will help you understand what I mean. To be more precise, pi is 3.141,592,653,589,793,238, and the decimal digits just keep on going, forever, without repeating. Pretty amazing, huh? But the good news is that saying pi is 3.14 is usually close enough for most math problems, so that's all you really need to memorize. And that's why we use a symbol for pi in equations. We could write pi with just 2 decimal places, or we could write it with 5 decimal places to be more accurate, or we could write it with hundreds of decimal places to be super accurate, or we could just use the symbol to represent the true value, which is infinitely accurate. Okay, so in this video, we learned what a circle is, and we've learned about the important parts of a circle: the center, the radius, the diameter, and the circumference. We've also learned about a very special number called pi. Pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, and its value is about 3.14 no matter what size the circle is.
Try to measure a circle. The diameter and radius are easy. They're just straight lines you can measure with a ruler. But to get the circumference, you'd need measuring tape or a piece of string, unless there was a better way. Now, it's obvious that a circle's circumference would get smaller or larger along with its diameter. But the relationship goes further than that. In fact, the ratio between the two, the circumference divided by the diameter, will always be the same number, no matter how big or small the circle gets. Historians aren't sure when or how this number was first discovered, but it's been known in some form for almost 4,000 years. Estimates of it appear in the works of ancient Greek, Babylonian, Chinese, and Indian mathematicians, and it's even believed to have been used in building the Egyptian pyramids. Mathematicians estimated it by inscribing polygons in circles, and by the year 1400, it had been calculated to as far as 10 decimal places. So when did they finally figure out the exact value instead of just estimating? Actually, never. You see, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter is what's known as an irrational number, one that can never be expressed as a ratio of two whole numbers. You can come close, but no matter how precise the fraction is, it will always be just a tiny bit off. So to write it out in its decimal form, you'd have an ongoing series of digits starting with 3.14159 and continuing forever. That's why, instead of trying to write out an infinite number of digits every time, we just refer to it using the Greek letter pi. Nowadays, we test the speed of computers by having them calculate pi, and quantum computers have been able to calculate it up to 2 quadrillion digits. People even compete to see how many digits they can memorize, and have set records for remembering over 67,000 of them. But for most scientific uses, you only need the first 40 or so. And what are these scientific uses? Well, just about any calculations involving circles, from the volume of a can of soda to the orbits of satellites. And it's not just circles either. Because it's also useful in studying curves, pi helps us understand periodic or oscillating systems like clocks, electromagnetic waves, and even music. In statistics, pi is used in the equation to calculate the area under a normal distribution curve, which comes in handy for figuring out distributions of standardized test scores, financial models, or margins of error in scientific results. As if that weren't enough, pi is used in particle physics experiments, such as those using the Large Hadron Collider, not only due to its round shape, but more subtly, because of the orbits in which tiny particles move. Scientists have even used pi to prove the elusive notion that light functions as both a particle and an electromagnetic wave, and perhaps most impressively, to calculate the density of our entire universe, which, by the way, still has infinitely less stuff in it than the total number of digits in pi.
The biggest pizza in the world. Oh, pizza, one of the most delightful pleasures for the mortals. Besides being one of the best gifts that humanity has given us, it has also made history. Don't you believe us? Join us to discover the one that caught everyone's eye, not only because of its flavor, but also because of its size. Could you finish it? A giant in the 90s. For years, many have disputed the title of the biggest pizza ever made. However, few have been those who have actually achieved it. To make a dish so delicious and so big at the same time, it's not as simple as one might think. Created in order to delight a lot of palates, pizza has gradually become one of the most popular fast foods worldwide. However, what would one of the most popular dishes in the world be without a few broken records? If we analyze the sacred writings of the internet, we'll find one of the giants that made history over 20 years ago, and as hard as it is to believe, it wasn't in Italy. This is a huge pizza made in the city of Johannesburg in South Africa in 1990. And when we say that they made history, it absolutely did, considering that the dimensions of this pizza were 121 feet in diameter. For its creation, 9,920 pounds of flour were used, 1,984 pounds of tomato puree, and the main ingredient, no, we're not talking about love, about 3,960 pounds of cheese. All this without mentioning some other ingredients that also adorned this dish with massive proportions. Oh, 1990. Mandela had come out of prison, the Berlin Wall had just been destroyed, and one of the largest pizzas had been created. But wait! Despite the fact that this enormous delight is almost undefeated, it no longer holds that title, which leads us to the next point. Destroying the Colossus. More than 20 years had passed before another giant came into the picture. In 2012, honoring the place of its birth, the most extraordinary pizza to date was created. Having been made in Rome, Italy, this pizza completely destroyed the competition, with a diameter of more than 131 feet. Also, this Italian giant covered an area of 13,580.28 square feet. The charm of this spectacular product was so incredible that its creators called it Ottavia, representing an ancient Roman emperor. In addition, following the line of healthy food, this pizza was 100% gluten-free. On the other hand, making history was not an easy task, because its preparation took about 30 long hours of no sleep. And you're probably wondering, what did they do with something so huge? The answer is simple. Otavia was distributed to the public to delight the palates of many. The present public and the rest was given to charity, showing a record that can be used for altruistic measures. And although this dish is still registered as the largest pizza ever made, there is one that is stepping on its toes when it comes to dimensions. A record out of the ordinary. Across the ocean, in the United States, they also have a huge love for this dish, and they showed it by creating a huge and little seen delight. However, unlike the other two, and most of the pizzas, this did not have the typical circular shape. This amazing and flavorful delight is also considered within the Guinness record, although it's not for the biggest, but the longest, since its 6,333 feet and 3.6 inches long was enough to amaze even the skeptics. It's not every day we can appreciate a rectangular pizza longer than 17 football fields. Using about 17,700 pounds of dough and 3,900 pounds of mozzarella, this creation was made within 54 hours by a team of more than 100 people. Although it's not comparable in diameter to the Otavia since this is not round, this exquisite record exceeds it completely in length, so we can only describe it with two words: almost infinite. Additionally, the general public could get a taste of this masterpiece, and same as the giants made in Italy, all the leftovers, which were a lot, were donated to local charities. Giant at home. Because these are both amazing and huge pizzas, it's very difficult to specify which one is the largest. Although Otavia meets all the requirements to acquire the coveted award, it doesn't compare lengthwise to the one made in the United States. However, if you thought this was over, you're dead wrong. A recurring question goes through our heads. Can you order a giant's pizza? The answer is yes, my darling pizza lover, although obviously not as big as the other Colossus. Being one of the most recent records, on May 26, 2018, the American Moon Tower Pizza Bar Company, located in Texas, proudly holds the award for offering a rectangular Italian delight of more than 8 feet in length and 32 inches wide. And it can be yours for approximately $300. Amazing us with its different shapes and sizes, these succulent delicacies were created to make history.
That's a giant pizza. Like, holy moly, that's so big. So, I'm going to talk about the pie memorization contest. So, the pie memorization contest will happen on Friday, March 12th at 3:30 to 4 o'clock. So, this will be after school. There will be a primary from kindergarten, pre-K to second grade, and third through fifth grade winner, like we've done in the past. And your task is to recite as many digits as of pi correctly, and the winner will have their name on a plaque at the school. And I know some of you already have that, which is pretty exciting. If you want to do this, you'll have to send me an email, and I will put that email here in the bottom. You send me an email and have either your parents send me an email, or you can send me an email saying that you are interested in participating. If you change your mind after you email me, that's fine. No worries. And then the day of the competition, if you forgot to email me but you show up, we'll also find time for you. But it's really helpful for us to kind of get an idea of how many kids are going to show up. So please email me with your interest. And then you will, during the competition, you will state that you will be honest, and you will also need a family member to state that you are being honest with your recital of the digits of pi. So again, that's going to be on March 12th, Friday, March 12th at 3:30, and I'll send more information about this to your families, but it's going to be open to the whole school. There will be a winner from pre-K through third grade, to second grade, pre-K to second grade, and a winner from third grade to fifth grade. Please send me any questions you might have. Good luck. And your Flipgrid question for today is, you're just going to go on Flipgrid and tell me, what is pi? So you just watched 3 videos. So you're going to explain on Flipgrid what is pi. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye.